you can now have anyone living anywhere and operating a business practically from their living room. Like, I'm the primary example. We started this global company from her living room, raised $35 million, and now operate 100 markets. Yeah, well, my name is Julian Torres. I'm the CEO and co-founder of OnTop. I'm 35 years old. I've been living in the US for 2.5 years. Why I ended up in the US is a very interesting story, actually. I founded OnTop in August 2020 with my co-founder, Santiago. We eventually got some very, very fast traction, got into YC, and raised quite a significant amount of money, actually $35 million for our business to expand globally. What we do at OnTop is we effortlessly hire and pay people all around the globe. So we enable companies to hire and pay people anywhere around the world, as easy as if they were paying someone in their same city. So we're remote work enablers, if you will, from the contract, compliance, and payment side. From the get-go, we started a company, we started OnTop with the vision of it becoming global from day one. We didn't want a hyper-local business just located out of Colombia. We wanted a business born out of Colombia with a global outreach. When we launched that in August 2020, had an immediate effect on our traction, and the business started to grow very quickly. We launched a US dollar account for remote workers as well, where they could keep their money and spend it with the OnTop card. As part of that process, we had to be residents of the US in order to conduct that business in the most compliant way possible. Why? Because OnTop is a regulated entity right now. We needed to get permissions and the necessary licenses to operate our business. And the best way and most efficient way to do so was the US. And second of all, we wanted to be closer to our investors. Most of them are in the US. They're New York based or Miami based. And we wanted to be closer to them and to the American ecosystem. And Miami seemed like the perfect city that combined the US, Latin America, and other parts of the world. It's sort of like a tech hub. And the other part of the story is how I eventually got to the US is through an extraordinary ability visa, right? And I got that because I'm also a published author. I've published 2 books in Latin America with Penguin Random House. And that combination of raising the round, publishing the books, actually got me the visa and enabled me to become a resident of the US and start operating from there. Our own team is located in more than 26 countries, but then we hire workers in more than 100 countries. So up until now, we've hired tens of thousands of workers all around the globe, specifically in 100 countries, different countries. Since I moved in January 2022, there's been a wave of other Colombian founders following track, right? So one of the main motivators is Miami is just 3 hours away from Colombia, right? The main language in Miami is both English and Spanish, maybe Spanish even more than English. So there's a very friendly atmosphere for Latin American business to develop. My business is the business of connecting Latin American talent with US companies. So US companies hold the capital. There's good talent living in Latin America. That capital actually then flows back because those companies need to pay for that talent. And they're paying them pretty well. It's actually over market. It's actually more than what the local market pays to that talent in Latin America, right? So actually, people are experiencing like an enhancement of their quality of living. If they get to learn English and get the proper education, they can work for a US company that can pay them in US dollars, and that can enhance their quality of life. Okay? So it's actually the reverse of a brain drain. It's actually a capital relocation for political or whatever reasons, and then the capital flowing back in the form of payment to talent or for services. You have capable talent, especially software developers that are starting to form themselves in the craft and that are getting increasingly competitive in the global market. You have an increasing talent pool learning English, and the cost. So it's 3.5 or even 4 times cheaper to hire someone here than in the US. In a time where interest rates are high and capital is expensive in the US, companies have increasing cash flow pressure on their balance sheets. So they need to find ways to optimize that. And maybe paying a $500,000 a year executive is not the smartest of way of things to do if you can have an equally qualified talent in Colombia for $100,000 a year, right? So that's possible, and that's what we're seeing. It's not just low-level jobs that we're enabling companies to hire here. It's mid-level and high-level jobs, because companies are realizing that with remote work, you can now have anyone living anywhere and operating a business practically from their living room. Like, I'm the primary example. We started this global company from her living room, raised $35 million, and now operate 100 markets. Historically, the US has been really, really open for people wanting to come into the country and make new business, right? And provide opportunities. So if you want to look for an exit, if you want to look for extra capital, if you want to look for alternative ways of funding your business, the US has a much broader spectrum of opportunities. And then, as I said, once you collect that money, you build that structure, the capital tends to flow back. So it's not like we're draining Latin America out of the talent or the money. It's actually a relocation of money so that the money can flow back in more intelligent ways. I certainly want to serve as a role model and as an example to the rest of my country or the Latin American region with a very strong message. Things in life do not come for free. So if you study hard, look out for opportunities, put in discipline and hard work, there will be markets ready to receive you, and very good markets such as the US. They will open the doors for you. The counter of that story is if you want to play victim or want to go and just not add value but consume the resources of a country, right? And I'm not saying that all people do that, of course. Every human being has the right to go and move somewhere else and just find their opportunities. But the problem here is the mindset, not the mindset of a taker. What can they give me? But what can I give that society so that it gives back? So the main message is, if you want it and you put in the effort and you're willing to contribute, the US will give back. And there's millions of people that are able to tell that story.